Welcome to the Evening Review. My name is Sohane, and joining us in studio is economist, author, and founder of Lacuna Do Investments. Welcome to the Evening Review.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Last year, you launched a financial literacy book aimed primarily at children. Can you just sort of take us through what the book is about?
Right. So we launched the book called The Adventures of Pekke, the Piggy Bank, and like you clearly said, it is for the your early generation or for the children, mainly looking at your primary school. So we're looking at from grade 3 at least up to grade 7 can really utilize this particular book. And the book itself really is just to help parents kind of teach in an easier manner, teach their children financial literacy through reading, through the nice visuals that are in the book, and also to install financial literacy in their children. The motivation behind it is really to say that not a lot of parents know where to start when it comes to teaching their kids financial literacy. It's not a common term. And also us as adults, we already struggle with financial knowledge and financial literacy itself. And that is why the book was motivating that it can actually help the parent learn, but at the same time teach the child as well how to then be financially literate.
Now, in the book, just want to understand, what are some of the practical, solutions that you have, for example, that you can maybe just point out one or two examples of what is contained in the book?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the Pekke and the adventures of Pekke, really, which is the piggy bank, and having an owner within that bank, in that book, which is Johnny. The idea or the lessons in there is really for the child to be able to save up, let's say, for the toy that they want to buy, instead of going into the shop with a mom and then they're crying for a toy. So it's teaching the child that you have a piggy bank, go save up enough. I'm going to give you an extra $1 again, go put in, and until you have enough to buy the toy you want. Or kids that go into the shop and they cry for specific sweets and all the nice treats and so forth. Not necessarily to punish your child, but it's also just to teach your child to say, save up a bit and then you can afford what you really want. The rest I can buy for you, maybe school books and so forth. But then with the other things, I just want you to learn that your piggy bank needs to have a certain amount first before we can purchase you the toy. And that way you actually also get away from just spending unnecessary as a parent when a child cries for something in the shop, because you are teaching them that they need to save up their own money. So that's really what it is. And also, when the money is not enough, I think in the book, throughout the book, you will realize that it says, don't worry, let's just come up with a side business or something that the child can learn entrepreneurship already from a younger age to make up more money so you can buy whatever it is that you want. If you want a Spider-Man t-shirt, then you can actually save up for that, and we can, even if the parent end up topping up or so, but you're teaching your child or you're installing some saving behavior in your child, and that's really the lessons in the book.
Pekke the pig and Johnny, just tell us the inspiration behind these characters and also primarily what led to you writing a book of this nature.
All right. So I was inspired mostly by the children that I happened to stay with last year. So I stayed with my brother's kids and some of my cousins' kids, and just watching them play and observing them play, I think just gave me that encouragement that I should actually start something for them in terms of financial literacy, because at most I was concentrating on adults, and watching them, I'm like, if I have to teach them this is $1 and this is how much change you need to get from that when you buy ice, I need also to teach them through a book where they will read and they will know what it is, So that was really my inspiration to come up with such a book for the younger children or the younger generation. If you also see in our slogan, we say having an eagle eye to the next generation. Our next generation is the younger ones that are growing and becoming, the next generation, the next leaders. So they need to be equipped already before, they grow up and so forth. So that was really my inspiration. And coming up with the characters, I was really just thinking carefully characters that would be almost very neutral, but also true to the Namibian nation, instead of looking for names like the Chloes and so forth that are not really, we know it's not really Namibian birth. So coming up with the names like the Pekke and the Johns that we know, it kind of resonates with our children, and that's really just what it is. So that's how we came up with the characters, just to make sure that it resonates with our Namibian, you know, upbringing and our Namibian names and so forth, and not necessarily things that we adopted as a nation.
Children of this age, and just from that age going up to high school level and even beyond, do you think that there are enough tools out there to empower young people, to encourage them to save? Do you think that there's enough financial literacy that is trickling down?
I think there has been quite a number of efforts now in the industry, or at least awoke in the industry, to come up with a lot of initiatives for financial literacy. I've seen a number of institutions have also came out, you know, just pushing financial literacy. And I think from our side, we're also trying to do what we can do to penetrate that particular market and really learning. But I think my concern is not so much about how much content is going out there. It's about whether you can carry the content accurately and with passion. We all went through university, for instance, and we had subjects like money and banking, which is literally financial literacy. But the way the message was conveyed is almost like just read and pass. So it's a matter of really making sure that when you convey that message, somebody understands that that's part of my daily life. That's part of me eating bread. That's part of human behavior. So when it's installed in you in such a manner that it's not just a subject, it is actually your daily life. It's how you're going to live through this world. Then it becomes something else. So that is why with Lacuna Door, what we do is as well is we want to get into a space where we have teachers get part of programs where they are taught how to convey messages of financial literacy. But I think importantly also, if our education system from a younger age can already start adopting financial literacy in the curriculums and so forth, that will really, really go a long way in educating our young Namibians in terms of how to handle money, what is a budget, what is saving, what is debt, how do you avoid it, and so forth. So it's quite important. Whether or not a younger child would know what saving is really from grade 1, knowing the term helps better than not knowing at all.
For the book, where did you source the content, and you know, just sort of to put everything together to explain this whole issue or this whole thing of financial literacy?
Right. I am quite a big reader. I read a lot of financial books. That's also just to equip myself for my own life. So I read from children content, middle, age content, even to elderly content. What helped me a lot in terms of just making sure that the content is children friendly is that I started reading a non-financial books for children, just to try and grasp the language that I need to convey. And then at the same time, I think what also helped me in making sure that the content is still children friendly is the kids that I had at home. So while I am busy with 1 or 2 pages, I would call either the mom in or the dad in, or I would call a teacher in. So I had teacher friends as well that I would call in and be like, does this make sense? Would a child be able to read this like that? And so that helped me a lot with the content in terms of just making sure it is children friendly.
And then in writing this book, what is your background in business or rather in the publishing space?
I don't really have much knowledge in the publishing space. I think this was my first book. I wouldn't... a friend of mine said I shouldn't say I'm not an author, because I was like, I'm not actually an author, but I happen to write, which is, I guess when you write, you are an author. But I don't have much knowledge in it. What knowledge that I have is really on the information. So having rich financial information that I'm eager to trigger down or eager to share with someone else.
But I mean professionally.
Professionally, the only skills I have is writing skills from my economics background. So that helped a lot in terms of just crafting, the sentences properly and so forth. But in terms of, just being, let's say, in a media space, it's not really one of the things that I've been, doing.
So obviously, yeah. So, but of course, given given that you work in the financial services sector, you would know a lot of
Yeah.
yeah. And then, what are the challenges of financial literacy in Namibia? And what is the book on what solutions is being offered in the book? Obviously now it's meant for children, but but I'm sure that there are things that would also relate to the adult, to the young person, and so on.
Yeah. I think currently this book was just aimed at savings. We are still looking at putting out additional content on things like debt spending and all that, but we want to start it, small by small, so that somebody grasp it at a micro content level. So some of the solutions that we have in this book is really in terms of saving. Like I said, if you go through the book, you would realize that the mom is helping the child make candies to make more money for the toy, and getting out there and socializing with other people to make it work. So it actually requires the parents also to put in effort to help their kids, reach the goal that they're setting. And besides that, I think it also teaches you, goal settings, budgeting, because that's what it is ultimately. What's the point of savings without having a particular goal? So what is that goal? And also budgeting. How much money do you need? What does the toy cost? Do you only want to save up for that toy, or do you have another toy or something else that you want to buy? So budgeting also comes into play. Secondly, spending also comes into play. Business entrepreneurship also comes into play, because that's where you say your money is not enough, but how can we use the little that you have to multiply it faster? Sell candies to other kids, come up with a little cooking something with the mom or the dad. So it's also, apart from it being entrepreneurial skills, it's also, it also builds that connection between a mom or a parent with a child, and also helping the child develop other skills other than just the money skills that you're trying to teach them.
Now I want to shift the focus a bit now to Lacuna Door. In terms of now, because you're also a financial coach with a different hat that you're wearing, and there's always this issue of Januworry. We're in the beginning of the year. How do I, or the person watching this, avoid this conundrum where I've worked for the entire year, but suddenly in January, when we have to repeat the cycle again, I don't have money?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting one. It's always interesting that question comes in January when people are already faced with that same problem. I would actually love to have such discussions in December so that someone prepares better for January. But nevertheless, being a financial coach, I think those who have either watched our YouTube channels or those who are following in terms of clientele with us, they would realize that what we do is we really emphasize a lot on budgeting and knowing. So what we emphasize on, especially if you want to make sure that you carry through January properly without having to feel some pressure or some strain, we always say budget and make sure you save. So saving, it can either be as an emergency fund for when you have emergencies. I know a lot of emergencies happen December and January. I don't know why, but then you have some sort of saving. And then we also have another term which is called your sink fund. So your sink fund, which is actually what's more applicable to your particular question right now, is that where you save for something that you know is going to occur. Because with emergencies, you don't know that it will occur. But in your sink fund, you save for what you know is going to occur. Christmas happens on the 25th of December. It doesn't come by surprise, okay? Yeah. You save up for Christmas. If you love gifting and so forth, you have already saved up for that. Or New Year, we like parties as a family, you already save up for that. That back to school is coming, you have already put aside back to school, stationery money, if so be. If you can't put away stationery money in January, what I always advise to do is, in fact, it's a cheaper way to do it, is to buy your stationery in November or December, as soon as you get the list for the schools. Buy those things already. When you go on holiday, your money to spend is limited and you have already gotten the necessity or the necessary things for January. The other trick as well, which I've seen having been employed at 2 institutions so far, with the one, your salary for December comes in way earlier on the 12th of December already.
Sure.
So now that's the same salary that you spend in January. So if you're not smart enough, you would utilize all that money before, you know, even Christmas. And then January comes, you have absolutely nothing because your salary came early. Whereas with, you know, the current institution, you do get your salary still end of the month, so you still have some sort of leeway. But really what I realize is the biggest problem to a lot of people is when your salary for December comes in way earlier, because everybody wants to go on holiday, and now you don't know how to apportion your money to still spend the December salary when it's December time. So that has been a lot of people's problems. And I also feel like you need to avoid at all means taking on, you know, cash loans for back to school, cash loans for plowing in the north. Like, just make sure you have saved up enough, because you know those things are happening, you know they will occur. Save up already and avoid debt cycles.
And then this issue, you've touched on the issue of loans. Is it necessarily true to say that every form of debt is bad? What type of debt can one, because there are inevitables that come up, what are the types of debt that one can look at and consider, and what are the ones that you should totally shun and not even consider or look at?
Right. Now, I know maybe I am a bit more drastic. I know we have these terms and they are generally accepted as necessary debt and, you know, unnecessary debt, which is good enough if you look at it that way. But I, for one, and also having running now currently a program called Debt Elimination, I would rather have us just eliminate debt completely. And I know, Reyes, you can use debt to expand, but I also feel like sometimes we take on those things, but it's really not necessary, right? But then in terms of necessary debt, and really to answer your question, I would say having, you know, your car loan or your house loan, those are necessary debts. You should have them, making sure that at least for your needs, you know, you can have that. We need transportation, you need shelter. Those are very important. But then you get debts like credit card debts, really. It's in the shop, it's in food and so forth, and you keep recycling that, and you continuously in a debt cycle. Then you have debts for things like furniture and so forth. And I think a lot of people do not, I don't know whether they neglect that or they're just not aware, but shops have availed options like lay-bys, where you can actually delay gratification. A lot of people don't want to delay gratification. Lay by your couch, and then that way you don't accumulate any interest on that particular purchase. I have also seen, especially with people that take food credit cards and stuff like that, or for food, if you look at certain shops, particularly ShopRite in this matter, not that I'm, you know, a promoter for them, but they have like saving stamps for food. And I always, especially the elderlies in the northern part, in the southern part of the country, I always say, if you then know December we're going to spend, or January when everybody's back to Windhoek, we need some money, food to stay alive, get yourself some saving stamps. It's $10, $20 every time that you actually make up a $2,000 in that saving stamp, or $3,000 in that saving stamp. And you go to ShopRite and you can actually do your back to school for your children shopping, or you can do food shopping, you know, because you have saved up a little. But those are concepts that people need to start, you know, acquainting themselves with and really utilizing them instead of running for a debt, instant gratification. It's like life is fast, I want it now, but you can actually delay it. The other concept that I also always teach people to do is, and I tried it with my own life. I was a clothes lover where I would go into a shop and I would just buy something, and then I get home and I don't actually want it. And I started doing what I called a 7-day challenge. So I go into a shop, I look at something I wanted, and I go out of the shop. And I give myself at least 3 to 7 days. Now, going back into that shop, 90% of the time, I'm not interested in that thing anymore. Now, a lot of times when you see something, and especially when there's a salesperson, I run from salespeople. Don't say you're strong. You're never strong. You know your budget, you know your money, you know your expenditures. So make sure, and you know your income. Don't stand there saying, I'm listening to a salesperson, I'm going to be strong. You will not be. They are meant to sell. So run. Yeah.
And I want to circle back now to the book. When was the book launched? And then interested, and what does the book come with? Is it just the book? Are there any other practical things that come with the book? And how do people get a hold of you if they want to get the book?
All right. So the book was launched last year in November. So that's when we launched the book. And the book itself came along with financial ABCs.
You can hold it up to the camera.
So we have the book, which is the financial literacy book, and then we also have financial ABCs. Now, the financial ABCs, again, is an interesting kind of, I've seen parents that are like, okay, I will use this for myself, because this is just teaching you financial terms, just to be aware of, there's credit, there's debt, there's budget, there's asset. So instead of kids learning things like A is for apple, which we all eat, it's like A is for asset, and they can actually ask the mom or the dad, what is an asset? And if the mom and the dad does not know, you can always ask Mr. Google and be like, Mr. Google, what's an asset? So that way, the mom or the father and the child are both educated, which is actually why we came up with these financial ABCs to be accompanied by the book. Where to get us? So we are on all our social medias. We're still busy with the website. We are on all our social medias everywhere. Yes. So you just Lacunador. So you would find us as Lacunador. Our contact details are there. Our emails are there. But you can also then just send an email to lacunador@outlook.com.
Okay, so just spell the Lacunador for the audience.
So it's LA-KUNADOR.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Lacunador.
At
outlook.com.
outlook.com.
Yeah. Or otherwise, you can also find me on my cell phone number, which is 081 46 800 40.
And then as part of Lacunador, briefly, because we're running out of time, the debt elimination program. Just briefly take us through what you do there and what the aggressive approach is.
Okay, great. So maybe I can just mention the 3 that we are running currently. So firstly, we have in consultation with us in terms of black tax. That's if you feel like you're being black tax. That's a one-on-one consultation. Then we have another program called our Championship Client. That one we started 2 years ago already. So we have seen a lot of success in it. The reason behind it is to install some sort of savings discipline and just discipline in terms of finances. That's why we don't just want you to come and then you go. It's not a church where you just come and go. So we want you to really get accustomed to the finance and so forth, and how to go on your own. So that's the Championship clients. They run a 5-month program, and you have 2 sessions every month where it's really intense in getting you and guiding you. Then we have this year our debt elimination program. So our debt elimination program is a journeying with me. And the reason why it's called journeying with me is because I am in the process also of settling my car debt as well as my house debt. And really, I just want somebody who is willing and who wants to also settle their debts faster to journey with me as we tackle these things. So that particular program includes things like accountability partners. So you would have accountability partners. You set budgets, you set goals. You would then also indicate as to what amount add on in terms of onto the existing installments. You get strategies in terms of how to eliminate debt faster. You get teachings, you get mentored as well. So that's what that program does. It's an 8-month program, and really it's an intense program. It has limited registration, or at least participation, limited to 10 people, and it's a face-to-face program. So far we haven't, the rest are online, can be done online, but because this is an intentional program, it's going to be a face-to-face program. So mostly for those who are based in Windhoek would be able to kind of benefit from it, especially in this year. So maybe next year we're going to roll it out as an online program.
Thank you for sharing your financial tips with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That concludes the evening review. Good night.